email marketing, it's a great follow-up tool. I look at it as a supportive marketing mechanism. It's not going to be your number one driver of traffic, driver of sales, but it is going to be something that can help reduce ad costs, help increase follow-ups, and just top-of-mind awareness.
Welcome to the High Voltage Business Builders, a show where we interview entrepreneurs growing and scaling their income through e-commerce and showing you the path to make your first or next million. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. It's Neil on the High Voltage Business Builders podcast. We don't always get the intro right, but I always try to get it right. My guest today, I had a great conversation with him. Looking forward to it. He's a great email marketer and does a lot with email. And as we know, in e-commerce or in business, well, the opportunities for social media and all those things are out there. One of the best things you can ever do is build a list. As they say, the money's in the list. And if you get your email and curate and have a conversation, it can change your business and change any kind of line in your business that you're doing, from interactions, network, social, e-commerce, or other things, real estate. It doesn't really matter when you have a list to communicate with of people who are your audience and your tribe. And we're going to talk about some of that today. Reinis, welcome to the call.
Happy to be here. I'll listen to that podcast episodes. Great guests, great hosts, great podcast. So I appreciate sitting here on.
Yeah, we're going to set the bar up here, man. We're going to throw the bar down for you. So don't ruin my good track record. No, I'm just kidding.
No, never.
No,
Raise it higher.
Raise the bar. So email, man, let's dig into this. What's the number one thing you want people to know about email marketing and things that you're doing?
Straight into it. Really, email marketing, I think. I'll talk to your audience. I'll talk to primarily e-commerce sellers, Amazon sellers, even people who do other online businesses. Email marketing, it's a great follow-up tool. I look at it as a supportive marketing mechanism. It's not going to be your number one driver of traffic, driver of sales, but it is going to be something that can help reduce ad costs, help increase follow-ups, and just top-of-mind awareness. We use email for our own agency as well to follow up with people on our email list from Twitter, from other platforms, people who've booked calls with us earlier. And a lot of times we might have someone, we're running ads previously. We had someone who booked a call with us like a year ago. And then today I had a call with them just because we kept on following up with them. And with how cheap email marketing is, it's ridiculous not to use it. I know a while back people said email was dead. I don't think people say that anymore. It's not dead. It's nowhere near dead.
Well, you know who said that, right? It's all the SMS marketers. SMS is,
well, we do
somebody
well.
is always tripping somebody else up in the industry, right? Because then it was like, people were like, well, Amazon is dead. And who was saying? It was all the drop shipping people who were trying to do Shopify drop shipping. Now they're coming back and being like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't really dead after all. So there's always some market to hedge in. But one thing is very clear. If you see emails from major corporations and you get them continuously and you're getting them for years and years and years, there's a reason why that's happening. Because it works at the end of the day, right? But how did you get started in it? How did you get into email marketing? How did you get where you are?
Very good question. I started, I'll give a quick overview of my backstory. I started when I was 13. I did graphic design for Call of Duty sniping clans, and I was mowing lawns.
Well, I did something very similar. I'm just laughing because I was like, you just talked about my background. I was mowing lawns and playing video games.
Cool. Yeah. It got me in the game. It got me curious about the business world. And then I became like a fitness influencer from like 15 to 18, my age. I was like a micro influencer in my country. This led me down the path of doing social media marketing for local companies in my country. They didn't pay much. So I decided to go abroad, try to, break into the US from Latvia. That's the country where I'm from, or other European countries. I started initially with paid advertising during the paid, social media era, but a lot of people were using paid media, but they weren't using email. And I saw it as an opportunity for a new skill to learn, new added value. And I started working with e-com store owners then, expanded my portfolio, and now we've grown to a team of around 50 people writing emails and working with brands.
Yeah, some of the major financial groups like Agora and stuff, they heavily rely on email. Newsletters and that kind of stuff really reach people. I have a very small newsletter that I send out on, current events and things I find interesting. And it's got, over 100 subscribers. Yay for me, right? It's not really like a monetary thing. It's a fun thing. I kind of write it. It's like a virtual post. Yep. And instead of doing blogs, I just send out email newsletters to people. And it turns out they read that more than they interact with anything else on the social media stuff because of who they are and what they do. There's just that way of communicating that feels comfortable, especially for most of the Gen Xers or maybe people who are a little older who got started with email from the very beginning, like the green screen days. And I was in college and I remember the inbox for I and the green screen. And it was like the first time we got email was really cool, man, because it was his first like near real time communication that we had.
You've
And it's
got
always stuck with
mail.
a lot of us. Yeah, you got mail. No, not the AOL days. Although that did set the trend for where we are, no doubt about it. And they made the whole movie and thing. And obviously that set a whole trend for the way it goes. But I appreciate emails and SMS marketing. I appreciate the different types of social media and stuff that's out there, at least for those who I communicate in the business world or who get podcasts and stuff like that. I've got I think I've got a 54-day email sequence now that I just add on to as I find the topics or emails most relevant to people. I put them in my cycle and they just go, and everybody who ends up at the top, gets 54 days. And as you said very clearly, for those who aren't appreciating this, let's draw out what you said because it's extremely smart. Someone will be on your list for months to years sometimes and not buy from you, or just not have that moment in time that adds up correctly, whether it's the offer, the time, the season of their life or whatever. And then they'll jump in, and then suddenly they show up and they're like, hey, I'm in. Let's go. I've been waiting to do this for a long time. And you're like, where did you come from? Like, well, I've been on your list for a year. Oh, okay. It's just a great tool. How are you expanding that? You said your agency, you got 50 people writing emails. Where is your niche? Are you in a niche? Are you in specifically like only e-com, or do you just kind of broad reach in terms of communication?
Yeah, so we do three main niches. Number one is e-com, that's like 95%. Then number two is info products, and then number three is SaaS. I'd say e-com is like still 95%, but info products and SaaS have been like opportunities we were given. Those were great opportunities for us to write on. Info products was kind of dear to my heart because the way I learned emails was a lot of it was from info products when I was selling like kind of ebooks and courses as a fitness influencer. Then later, also Jason Capital did training with a copywriter from Agora to talk about copywriting. That was one of the best copywriting courses I've taken a while back. So that was all like an interesting opportunity for us to take. We actually had a company where we were building info products with influencers in 2020. So we had experience with them. But right now it's primarily e-com. Sometimes we also work with Amazon sellers who want to start off on, for example, Shopify, start off their D2C side, and we help them launch their brands as well, alongside, paid media agencies or media buyers and whatnot.
So let's unpack that for just a second. As you brought up Amazon and Shopify, obviously, we focus a lot on Amazon and the DTC channels, Amazon and then DTC as we open up the brands. What's an email tip, strategy, tactic that you would give someone right now who's listening, who might be in one of those channels currently to do email marketing? What are you seeing? What do you recommend?
Yeah, email marketing is really good for repeat purchases and customer loyalty. That's the primary reason you would use that. And if you run a CPG brand or a brand that generally gets a lot of repeat purchases, staying on Amazon is amazing, but you should probably also have like a D2C site. An example of this is the complete opposite of maybe some of the people who are listening is Mudwater. They don't have anything on Amazon. They only have their own shop, and that's because they want to control the customer experience from product to shipping and everything. And also, like, if you look at Amazon's business model itself, like they've shifted from selling their own products to allowing merchants to come on their platform and sell for them, because what they get data, they get customer information, so they can interact with those customers. And if you've scaled up, I'd say to around $1 million a year, or even like $500,000 a year, I guess, on Amazon, I think a great opportunity for you, maybe Neil, you can give your input on this as well, is to start a D2C side as well. That way you diversify your channels. Amazon's, I know you often get suspensions. It's easy to deal with them, but just so you have the diversified traffic and sales channels, you can start your D2C side. This opens up a lot of doors later down a line as well for exits. Also, it's primarily just diversification. Also, you take control of your sales channels. Where email marketing comes in specifically is within the launches, because when you're doing, let's say, $1 million or $5 million, $10 million a year in sales on Amazon, you don't want to start off a shop and then basically build it from ground zero up to like $1 million a year over like months ahead of time. So what we focus on is doing these brand launches. And the way they're kind of structured is we work together with either a media buyer from the business or with another agency that does media buying, so social media ads. And we create a funnel where we would basically build an email list and validate that email list and do a huge launch to this built email list with your products. You would make sales right away. We had a brand that we did 251K in 24 hours with emails to 40,000 people. In their case, they were launching a fitness brand, and they partnered up with a fitness influencer to do the launch. They could have gone the slow way, maybe had, one promotion or two promotions. We ended up doing 8, where initially the first kind of promotions were promoting like an early sign up to get basically early access to the brand. So we would show sneak peeks, behind the scenes footage of them in photo shoots, of them in the process of creating a product to get people curious. And then people could swipe up on the Instagram stories, go to the sign up page, and we got around 40,000 email signups from an influencer with 1.5 million followers.
Dude, that's amazing. No, I
Yeah.
love that. And you're tapping on a lot of things that I know are true in this. And one of the things maybe you're not aware of, and I'll just share this for those who maybe are listening along. Amazon, yes, it collects the data and whatnot, but you can get between 20 to 40% or a little bit higher of your customer data from Amazon, actually from the customer who's willing to give it to you because of the product purchase or type, the way it's staged up, and stay within the terms of service so Amazon doesn't mind. What they mind is you taking the data. What they mind is you trying to steal the customer experience. What they mind is you jacking with their brand. But if you're in compliance and you're working with Amazon, you can get that customer data from them voluntarily and build your list and build your direct-to-consumer side. Obviously, 500 to a million, you said earlier, I agree wholeheartedly. At that point, there should be enough organic and movement going, and the brand is starting to push itself forward where you don't have to push as hard as many hours. So some of your hours and time and profit should be shifted over to sort of building some of those DTC assets. First up, it's just email. If you don't have a Shopify funnel or you don't build a funnel or that doesn't make any sense to you and you're like, what the hell is a funnel? Then it's more important for you to understand just how to collect those emails and start that process and building that list and that customer audience, which will obviously build what we call customer lifetime value, the additional product someone will buy from you after their first purchase. And this is where a lot of Amazon sellers make their mistakes. They think it's just first customer acquisition. I want everybody to understand there's second and third customer acquisition where the real business and the real profit's made. Email will allow you to do that. It's the highest interaction point you can have with a customer in the life cycle, which is great to hear you say all those things because definitely I can echo that with my experience from the Amazon side. And of course, DTC gives you the control and mechanism. Now, here's the thing that your client may not know, or maybe you don't, or someone listening doesn't understand. We know between 15 to 18% of all paid media on a direct consumer channel ends up over on Amazon. So if your brand isn't on Amazon and they can't easily find you at a keyword search or even a brand search, your name to validate who you are, and you don't show up at the top of the listing, they'll buy somebody else's product. So if you do the math on that, if you're paying for the traffic and you're putting 50 to 100,000 a month in traffic, you're going to see quite a bit of money being sent to Amazon and its competitors, your competitors, I should say, that you're basically giving to them for free. So we call it found money for DTC channels to start looking at Amazon. Now, I'm not that old, but once upon a time, the yellow books and the websites were, hey, that means you're a legitimate business. We went from the yellow books, legitimate business, to, hey, do you have a brochure and a website? Okay, now you're a legitimate business. Well, in the e-com world, and I'm sure you can appreciate this, it's now, hey, if you have an Amazon brand, even if it's not making up the majority of your sales or not, well, okay, now I see you sort of as a legitimate business because I saw you on the interwebs. I saw you on, Instagram. I saw you on Facebook or TikTok or somewhere else. And I went to Amazon and, okay, maybe you are legit because you actually have a seller account on Amazon. It's an interesting shift, and I don't think as many people have recognized it occurred many years ago.
Yes, to touch upon that, I gave the example of Mudwater a while back where they're not selling on Amazon. And I was at a presentation where a friend of mine thought he was speaking, and he actually pulled the example of Mudwater, and he showed competitors who were basically ranking for the search term, and they're stealing their traffic.
Stealing their sales, right, yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting to actually have a conversation because there was actually a person who owns 5% of Mudwater in the audience. And then I was with the speaker and then he talked with them to the reason why they're not doing it. It's not because they want to avoid Amazon or they're afraid of maybe like reviews. It's because their customers' experience is in such specific way. They basically they focus on MRR. The first product they ship is different. And afterwards, it's kind of like refills, which they couldn't do on Amazon then. So that's why they weren't on. Yeah. But not even subscription-based, but the way they sell their products is the first product you buy is different from the ones you get afterwards. And you couldn't do that on Amazon, so that's why they're not on. But if you're anything besides that, you have to be on Amazon 100%.
Well, it's a case-by-case basis, and you'll find usually the majority of those will make some sort of valuation of product type or, your product may not match on the front end of DTC, but a variation, a gear, accessory, or something will match. And make no mistake, there's a customer buying that product from another brand on Amazon if they're not buying it from you, even if you're in your own brand. We like to think we're wholly unique in our brands because, trademarks and stuff, and no one else is selling anything like us. But that's actually not true. In fact, that's your advantage. It's competition versus saturation. Obviously, we have to understand what those differences are, but it's a good story, man. I love it. So where are you going in the next year? What's your goals with your email, your marketing, your agency? What are you really focused on for the coming year?
Very good question. Right now, really, it's two things. Number one, content. We want to be able to share knowledge and what we've learned. We have access to a lot of high net worth people in our audience, high value people in our audience with our clients and whatnot. So we're sharing what they learned on our podcast, as well as right now we're focusing on this could be interesting for you. We work with a lot of clients who do localized stores in Europe. So they would basically take, for example, Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, Finland. They take all those countries. They create specific stores for all these countries that are in the native languages and scale all those stores. And you might have each one of these stores do, for example, 50 to 100K a month. If you do 5 of those markets, you might be doing 500K a month. We're doing most of these markets and we are writing in those languages. We even write in Hebrew, but we want to build like mini agencies within those countries. So we're working on building partnerships with people. So we'd have, Agency GR in France, Agency GR in Germany with their own kind of like team from there who work with those brands locally and can really scale. That's really the big thing, kind of like breaking up the business in smaller chunks to scale.
Cool, man. I love to hear that. Email is definitely a part of what we do on both the business and the mentoring side. And we're doing more of it on the e-commerce side, both on Amazon, and we're involving it in direct-to-consumer channels. One of our companies we just acquired a percentage stake in, bestbaseballgifts.com, with MLB licensed, MLB PB licensed products. We got some really cool products and stuff. Email marketing, as we ramp that site up in marketing, is going to be a big component of the back end of that business, along with SMS, and email is going to be a huge component of that. We know where we're going to make the profit actually in the business, not on the front end, not the customer acquisition side of the first product acquisition, but the second and third. And that's going to be email behind the scenes, following up and making those customers run. So, man, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing some insights. Well, I got a technical question for somebody who might be listening. What's the highest delivery email system you found if someone's going to build a list and wants to get email marketing going? What would you recommend?
I would say it depends on what's your tech stack. So if you are doing e-commerce, Klaviyo is the best one. The key is to set up a custom sending domain. So go into settings under accounts, sending, I think it was email and domain settings, set up a custom sending domain. The reason why is because Gmail recently, it's not public, but Gmail changed their algorithm to where whenever you send out an email, it's not being sent through your email address. It's sent through basically like a SendGrid, basically IP, whatever you want to call it. And if Gmail looks at it, it might look to Gmail like, hey, someone's pretending to be you. So you need to validate it, whitelist, whatever it might be, as soon as you start writing emails. So when you send the emails, they don't go to spam. That's basically for e-commerce. For info products, I personally use ActiveCampaign primarily because it integrates with the tools we use. So that would be ClickFunnels. Another great example is SendLane. SendLane has great UI. We've used it with a couple of people that sell affiliate products. So if you do a lot of affiliate stuff, if you sell your own affiliate offers, SendLane is going to be DSP that doesn't care. ActiveCampaign will block you. Klaviyo, I spoke with their reps right now. They said that they're not responsible for your compliances. So now they don't care anymore as well. So
that's a good breakdown. That's a good breakdown. And I know SendLane, Jimmy Kim is a good friend of mine, and SendLane's one of the great email marketers in terms of big mass marketing lists. They do a lot of political lists and have a lot of people on there. And so they know really well how to deal with all that really crazy high volume issues with ISP
great
and stuff.
support.
So great recommendations. Very cool stuff, man. Thank you for sharing that with me today. Thank you for spending some time with my audience and sharing some great tips. Hopefully everybody was paying attention to some of the things you said between the lines that I caught, and hopefully the listeners caught it too, because there were some really great nuggets that you threw in there today, man. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Sweet. Happy to be on. Thank you.
If you like this episode, please share it with people you think will enjoy it as well. Thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode of High Voltage Business Builders.